Hi guys, Coach Carter here. So we're going to make our last auxiliary exercise video. We did an upper body auxiliary video. Those are our upper body strength movements. We did lower body aux video, which is more of our lower body strength movements. Now for our ballistic plyometric auxiliary exercise, we throw them into the total body tier because in our total body tier, we do our Olympic movements, which is going to increase our power output. So again, these are our jumps. These are our box jumps. These are our dumbbell explosive movements. We like to superset them with strength movements. A very common superset you'll see us do is a squat followed by a dumbbell squat jump or split squat jump. We also do them individually like jump ropes. Like, we can do the squat jumps by themselves, but we also like to superset these. So we'll get into the exercises here. So why do we do total body aux exercises? It's helping our total body tiers to make our athletes, your athletes, more explosive. Again, if we're talking about athleticism, being able to jump higher, being able to put more force in the ground is going to help our athletes in a multitude of ways. And then we want to keep our kids engaged with new exercises. As I mentioned with previous auxiliary exercise videos, this is the time for the strength coach to add in those wrinkles, add in those new exercises he wants to play around with. Kids like the aux exercises because they're new. They bring a different dimension to your tiers. So this is a really good way for the strength coach to get some more engagement with his guys and gals in the weight room. So with the exercises. So number one is just a basic dumbbell squat jump. I think I read a basketball coach blog and he was saying this is his number one exercise to increase the vertical jump of his basketball players. Again, we're using a weighted movement, but we're still going through an athletic posture here. So for doing dumbbell squat jumps, real simple, quarter squat jump, and then we're jumping straight up. So quarter squat, jumping straight up. Again, that's as low as I want to go, and then I want to put force in the ground and explode the hips upward. If you go down too low, you're going to lose power. Again, I compare it to a basketball player. If a basketball player is getting ready to dunk, he's not going to do a full deep squat and then jump up, right? He's going to lose too much power. So quick quarter squat, jump straight up. The other cue for this is that I like to control the body before going back down. So I don't like to use momentum down and then back up with this. I think for me, I like to have the kids pause, reset, and then go back up vertical just so they can get full power and full force through the ground. So you can kind of get the flow here. If I let the video play all the way through, quarter squat and jump, reset, quarter squat and jump, reset. You can't have the kids jump forward. Almost always with dumbbell squat jumps, I have them jump straight up because we're usually doing this in the weight room. So moving on to exercise 2, now we're talking about unilateral ballistic movements. We're talking about split squat jumps here. Now for this one, I do let the kids use momentum to jump back up. So my cues are jump, switch in the air with your feet, jump back down. So if you're trying to pick up a little rhythm here, so jump, switch, jump, switch, jump, switch. I want the knee to get an inch off the ground. I want them to sink, and then I want them to go back up. If I had them pause for this movement and then switch, it would just take way too much time for splitting the feet and switching midair. I think it keeps a much better rhythm. Again, if we're talking about unilateral strength, we're talking about running and sprinting. This is a really common exercise we like to use. I really like to use this as a superset with deadlift or squat, right? So squatting, I'm doing bilateral lower body exercise. Now I can do a unilateral ballistic movement right afterwards, which is going to really increase our power output. So again, big chest, nice fluid motion. Some young kids might be flopping around. You want to keep the torso nice and tall. You want to try to stay in one position as much as possible in regard to where you're landing each rep. Okay, now there are some variations to both dumbbell squat jumps and split squat jumps that I really like to use. I have videos of me doing it with split squat jumps, but you can easily do these variations with dumbbell squat jumps. So one variation I like is I call Suitcase. You're holding one dumbbell only. So you're going to activate the core a lot more because one side is weighted. So now your core is going to have to stabilize the other side. Kids really like this. They find it a little more challenging. So you can see I'm using a light dumbbell here, but I only have one in my hand. Same movement with the lower body, but you'll really feel that core being activated because you have to stabilize yourself. And again, I don't really overcoach making sure you switch the next set with the opposite hand with the dumbbell, but you can if you want, if you're trying to get, a little more activation if the activation was going to be spread out a little more evenly. But to me, just making sure the kids have it in one hand is usually enough. So the second variation to dumbbell squat jumps or split squat jumps is +2. So this is awesome. So you'll do 4 to 6 reps with a dumbbell, and then you'll do 2 reps without a dumbbell. It's going to increase power output because now you're jumping higher without the weight. B, the kids really feel more explosive when they jump without the weight because obviously they have a lighter load to explode with. So I think I'm doing 4 reps here, normal split squat jumps. Then I'll drop the dumbbells, and then I'll do 2 to 4. Usually it's just 2, but without the weight. And I mean, again, you can just see, you just get a little more excited when you feel a little lighter. It's going to get that adrenaline pumping. You're going to jump a little higher. So I think this is directly going to increase force production through the ground, but it's also going to get your kids' confidence up a little bit. And I would say like using hex bar with young kids in the deadlift before moving to barbell. That little subtle thing is going to raise your kids' confidence because they're going to lift more weight. They're going to feel like they got stronger a little faster than they actually probably really did. And to me, the high school level, those mind games with kids, I think work. I mean, I think if you can get their confidence high, you can get them believing in themselves, I think that's going to carry over in a lot of different areas of your program. So again, the Suitcase and the +2 you can do with dumbbell squat jump or split squat jumps. Okay, now we're going into box jumps. Again, this is something that kids like, okay, which is important to me, and it works, which is obviously important. I think you don't want to get carried away with doing like too many box jumps. I think sometimes kids get too distracted with the boxes. They think it's the entire point of the workout. They always want to see how high they can go, which again, takes a lot of time, gets distracted. One common thing I saw when I was a young strength coach is I put a box outside, I turn my head, 10 minutes later, the entire class is outside, adding 45 plates to the boxes, seeing who can jump the highest. And then you got to regroup them all the time. So to me, make it quick, make it a superset activity normally works the best. And it's going to increase the force production, but you don't want this to be too distracting because kids get really gravitated towards the box jumps. But as a basic jump, okay, we're going to jump up, control the top, step down. Jump up, control the top, step down. Again, for me, a big cue is control at the top because I don't want them, to fall. I don't want them to bang their shins. So use a height you can do. They all want to go high, especially with these old boxes. You want to be careful about challenging them too much because those shins do get cut up pretty badly if they fall. The boxes with the soft shells are awesome. If you can get some of those, they're a little harder to find places for since you can't stack them as efficiently as regular boxes. But again, kids will gravitate towards this pretty quickly. Just make sure they're controlling at the top. Okay, now the variations, obviously there's a lot of variations here. The ones that I've picked up on, this is called pogo. So let me show you guys here. We're at this stage of our little list here. Pogo to box jump. So we'll do a little mini hop before jumping onto the box. So we're getting an amortization of the feet, translating to sprinting, right? The faster I can get my feet off the ground, the faster I'm going to sprint. So little pogo jump to box jump. Pogo jump to box jump. And I didn't control it very well there on that one. But again, same cue about controlling at the top. And again, you want the kids to get their feet off the ground as fast as possible. And that's going to be a common cue with a lot of these box jump exercises. You don't want them to get used to settling on the ground for like a pogo jump, for example, because that's going to translate to them having slow feet in their sport, right? So if you're talking about almost any athletic movement, soccer, track, football, lacrosse, quick feet equals speed equals athleticism, right? The only caveat I could say is like linemen in football, obviously are doing more, different movements where their feet are going to be firmly planted in the ground. But almost everything else I can think of, they want to get those feet off the ground as fast as possible. And these exercises train the body to do that, which is obviously great for sport. Okay, now we're going to a lateral box jump. Again, this is a little more challenging. The theme with, usually most of these lists I show is they start least intense, they work their way to most intense. So these are exercises now we're talking about you want to probably do with, more training when the kids get a little stronger, they get a little more experienced. So again, now we're facing the box laterally, jumping, balancing, stepping. Jumping, balancing, stepping. So again, it's going to be a little harder. You want to make sure their inside foot obviously gets over the box. Again, just pushing off in a different way. Obviously, you know, linear is great, but we also need to, for our open chain movements, we got to learn how to change and move in a different direction. So you want to incorporate some lateral jumps. Okay, jumping over box. Again, this is one your kids will like. Please make sure they're doing it on a box that they can handle. Again, a good variation, if you have the different plyometric box heights, that's great. You know, again, make sure kids do jumps they can achieve. You know, they always want to go high, make sure they can actually get up there. But another way to supplement this is just to put a 45-pound rubber plate on the box. They usually don't slide, and they're usually thick enough to actually add some height. So if you're trying to add some different variations to the boxes, you can add those rubber plates to it. I found that to be pretty safe, and the kids enjoy the challenge. But now we're going to jump over the box. Okay, so this is, again, it's a different variation, jumping all the way over. Again, engaging. You're going to have to put a little more force into the ground. I was going to go for 2 more. As you can see, I declined. So you'll feel some challenge here. Again, just a different variation for your kids to get excited about. And the last one, okay, so depth jumps. This was a new topic to me when I first started plyometric exercises. But again, great for teaching the lower body how to absorb force, right? So if we're talking about, you know, I'm just going to throw out female athletes. They usually have wider hips, more stress on their ACLs because their knees and their hips, you know, don't align as efficiently. So you want to really teach them how to absorb force so they can protect their limbs, the lower body limbs, when they go into athletic movements, right? So I think of basketball players right away. This would be a great movement for them to learn how to absorb force and quickly get back up into the air. So the cues for depth jumps, okay, you want to start with 1 foot over the box. You don't want to jump off. You want to let gravity pull you down. And then once you hit the ground, you want to quickly redirect your body upward. Now, there's a lot of variations to depth jumps you can do. You can do depth jump to jump. You can do depth jump to land. You can do depth jump to long jump. I'm only showing you in this video depth jump to tuck jump. But again, you can get really creative with this. But for the depth jump, okay, let gravity pull you down. Okay, and then you're going to jump up and bring your knees into your chest. I like this one because it's teaching the kids, you want a big cue. Get your feet off the ground as fast as possible, right? You don't want them settling on the ground. Teach them how to get their feet off the ground as fast as possible. So for all plyometric exercises, you're learning how to absorb force and then redirect. I think depth jumps, though, since gravity's pulling you down, kids get a really good idea of, okay, absorb, reabsorb, force into the ground. And I think this is something that, you know, this takes a little more explanation. I think this could be like you can do a depth jump circuit if you really have the time and resources. But again, if we're talking about absorption, reabsorption of force, this is a really good exercise. Okay, so again, you can do a lot of different things with plyometric exercises. Again, if we're talking about programming, I like the superset. It's more efficient. And obviously we're talking about strength movements with plyometric movements. They really complement themselves. If you just get a kid doing a lot of strength movements all the time, they're going to get heavy, probably slower. You want it for most sports. We're talking about, you know, general athleticism as a high school athlete. You want to keep their rate of force production high. Okay. Most aux lists focus on high volume, low intensity. That's probably not the case for plyometric movements. I would say medium volume. Okay. So usually anywhere between 4 to 6 reps for most of these exercises is good. You can do 8. I usually don't like to go above 8. You know, 10 plus usually just get the kids fatigued and the rate of force production goes down. No percentages for these because we're not maxing these. So if you wanted to look at how these work in our program again, so again, jump ropes, I didn't put a video up, but that's another great plyometric exercise you should do with your beginning and medium age level kids. We have a split squat jump. So again, the variations are just worked in. So week 1, we're just doing 4x8. Week 2, we're doing 10, but the last 2 don't have weight. So we're really doing 8 with weight. Suitcase jumps by 8. We're alternating between 2 and suitcase jumps. Again, if we had box jumps, our variations are mixed in. So week 1, 3x7, week 2, 4x5, week 3, so pre-jump is just pogo jump. Week 4, we're doing a depth jump. Week 5, we're doing a lateral jump. So you can see, even though box jumps is built into our auxiliary lift on Wednesday, we're doing the variations pretty much different every week for these aux exercises. And then we have dumbbell squat jumps. And again, the variations are mixed in. So again, I think you can get creative. These are exercises that are really going to increase the athleticism of your kids. I know when we think weight room, we think heavy weight, getting strong. But this is stuff that probably is going to make your kids more athletic faster than actually, loading up that barbell for months and months and months. So you need to do both, obviously, but you definitely want to incorporate these ballistic, explosive movements into your program. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching.